Hello, and welcome to the Green Umbrella Live Lunch. This is, I reckon this is going to be one of my favourite episodes. Now, I could say it's because Mark's not on here, but that was a lie. No, we have a guest today. It's just absolutely thrilled. Harj, my darling. So Harj is a really close friend. He's one of the key people in my world. And we've known each other for a couple of years now. So it's actually a little embarrassing that I haven't brought Harj on before now, but there you go. But Harj is there's not much that you don't do really in terms of entrepreneurship, public speaker, motivational speaker, multiple businesses and multiple sectors, and just an all-round good soul. So I know, I love you. Harj is like my brother. He is my brother.
I am your brother. Come on.
Yeah. So Harj, introduce yourself. Tell us, share your story with us, because it is I'm not going to say anything else. You tell your story, people will think what they think.
So first of all, I want to thank you, my dear, for allowing me to be as emotional and open in this space. And I don't think there's many people that you can be confident that you can open up with. Because I know anything I say, you not only just listen, but you also lead with your heart. And I think even with Kim and Nicole, I've had the pleasure of meeting you both. And it's a perfect situation because I've seen how Christina talks about her amazing team. And this is something that I talk about in my life, is about how important it is to have the right people around you. So for me, my journey wasn't always like that. So from a young age, I was brought up in a traditional Sikh household. My dad, growing up, was an alcoholic. And when he came back home, it would be about 5:30 in the evening. And my mum would work nights. So now you've got these little children aged 6, 7, 8, with no parents in the house, running riots, and there's no really parentship. So from a young age, we've been taught to look after ourselves. But what I didn't realize in that moment was how much we were fighting for our mother's affection, not father's. So I'm going to fast track on because this led to a series of events. And I felt there was a lot of pressure in my own community, being a Sikh or Indian, where you have to go to school, you have to get an education, you've got to go to university. And if you're not studying medicine, doctor, economics, maths, pharmacy, optometry, what other sciences are there? What are the mathematics ones? If you're not studying bloody business or law or something like that, you're a failure in this community. And that's what it felt like. So I went to university, I studied law, and I came out of it realizing that law isn't my forte. It's not what I really wanted to do. And in the second university, I actually got my student loan and I spent the money within a couple of days. And that's because I was just living a free lifestyle. And I realized, I've got no money to survive for the rest of the year. So I wasn't going to go back to my mum and dad because they weren't really wealthy. So I said, well, rather than getting an ass kicking, I have to go and learn how to make some money. And that's how I got my interest into being a hustler, into the entrepreneurship world. So when I was in second university, I was making anything from 100 to 200 quid a week, doing at that time click ad banners, where you used to use these really cool GIFs, which is now called, what's it called? Affiliate marketing. It's called these fancy names now, but back then it was just simple click ad banners. So my interest from entrepreneurship came from there. So when I left university, I realized that I wanted to do that. So what I effectively did is I heard about Facebook coming over into the UK. So I created my own version, which was called Club Gel. And within 2 years, I grew that to 165,000 subscribers. And I went for a meeting with a massive media agency because they've got something called milkround.com. And I said, look, why don't you advertise on here? And that basically led to, well, why don't we acquire you? So I'm like 22, 23 in a meeting with all these white, stale and pale people. I know Christina loves that. I'm sitting there as a fresh-faced Indian turban guy, 22, 23, going, well, I've got this offer in front of me and no one in my family has ever made this amount of money. So I'm thinking, cool, I'm taking the money, I'm running. What happened with that money is on a night out in Birmingham, I went out into this one particular place and I got the taste of this lifestyle. And then a year, so this is 2009, and a year after that, all the money that I made from the acquisition just went. I remember sitting in my apartment in Birmingham. I had no money. By the way, I sold this company for multiple six figures. I had no money. I'm sitting on the edge of bed. I've just vomited because I was literally sick to my stomach. And I remember it's about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and the sun was just peering up. I'm thinking, how the frick am I going to get home? How the frick am I going to pay the bills? How the frick am I going to pay the rent? What people don't realize is that a year before, in 2009, that night at Birmingham, I actually entered a casino. That first bet, my mind went from £20 to £60 in less than an hour. So what happened in that moment? I realized, being my business brain, thinking, well, why do I need to work? I can take £20 into £60 in less than an hour. What if I just doubled up on this? So what ended up happening, I actually started going to casino more often. And as a result of that, a lucky streak, which is normally, once or twice, went on for 3 months. And then it just went the other way. It just went downwards. So I started to end up placing money, placing bets, and then I started chasing money. And that's what effectively happened. It just went on a downward spiral. So all that money went. So I remember being back in Birmingham. I was basically penniless. I had to get a train on the way back to Slough. And I remember, I'm not sure if anyone's done this, but you jumped on the train and I was basically snuck into the loo because I had no money to pay the conductor, because I knew this conductor was on the Virgin train. And I was like, shit, I don't want to get caught.
Good tip.
I think all of us, I think the head. Yeah. Listen, whatever happens here stays here. No one else is listening. So basically what happened, I got home and I said to my parents, look, I've messed up. I made this stupid deal, but I didn't tell them exactly what happened. And look, any mother or any parent is going to do one thing. They're going to take you back in with open arms, especially mothers. They're always affectionate. So my mother didn't really understand what happened, but she said, look, come home, sort your life out, get back on track. And I've always been good. I've always been a good talker. I've always been someone that's been really good in his self-worth. So I knew about marketing, and digital marketing back then was basically encompassing email marketing, ads, SEO, everything under the sun. So I basically blagged a job, my first job as a marketing manager, which I got. And I was making about 35 grand, which is, I'm 23, 24, making 35 grand. My mindset in university was, if I can get married, have a couple of children, be on £40,000 a year, have a nice house, drive a nice BMW Audi, I've made it in life. How wrong was I if I thought about it now? So really, what happened is I got a job. And I started working in the corporate career. I worked, for some of the big companies. I worked for Kate Middleton's parents. I was one of the top private jet brokers in terms of marketing wise. I was going on private jets around the world. So I was living this lavish lifestyle. People thought Harj is doing really great. He's earning lots of money. What they didn't fail to realize was that whilst this looked like a level of success for other people and this perfect life, this other life I was living was crumbling. Because what was happening, all the money I was making, I was just gambling away. And as an Indian, what happens is you literally look after the household. You look after the money. You look after everything in there. And what was happening is my wife was like, well, where we at with the money? So what happened is over the time that we got married, by the way, I met my wife in 2012, got married in 2014. And in 2020, she found out I was gambling. And that's because her suspicions came true. Because think about it, when I'm basically saying, what's happening with the money? She's asking where this is at, and I haven't got any money, or I'm trying to push things off, or I'm not doing this. Her suspicions came true on, it was 16th of August, 2020. I came out of the shower in the morning. I remember it being a beautiful morning. I remember hearing Jeevan, my 2-year-old at the time, playing. I can hear him just laughing. And as I walked into my bedroom, I just saw my wife sitting at the edge of the bed, and she was, I know Christina's met my wife, and I know Kim and Nicole have mostly seen pictures of her. And anyone that's had the pleasure of meeting her would understand she's a strong woman. But to see her on the edge of the bed crying, that for me was, what the fuck has happened here? Sorry, I'm not meant to swear. But for me, seeing someone that I held so highly esteemed and someone that's so powerful, someone that's so beautiful, for her to cry like this, I asked her, what's wrong? You know, what's going on? Talk to me. And then what happened is I realized what was happening and my heart sunk to my stomach because what I saw was my phone in her hand. And then she looked up at me, and these eyes, I remember that moment, these eyes that she looked at me, it was disappointment. And when I saw these eyes of disappointment, I didn't understand or know what she'd found on my phone because she was holding my phone, right? And then she just turned around to me and said, look, I can't believe you've done this to us. I can't believe you've broken my trust. You said you'd never do this. Fuck you, basically. I was at a situation where, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I say? Because something I have done has upset her. What happened is she managed to get access to my bank account, and there her suspicions came true. She saw gambling transactions after gambling transactions after gambling transactions. She only saw a glimpse of what I was doing, and she saw more than like £5,000 that had been spent. You see, in that moment, I could have lied. I could have said, look, we're in the pandemic. Remember, this is, June 2020. Gone into lockdown. I could have turned around and said, yeah, my friend said, do gambling. You can make some money. I could have basically killed it off or something like that. But the other aspect of me was like, you've got an opportunity now to come true and clean with this. And as I say, right, if you speak your truth, it should set you free. And it did. I actually felt very enlightened and very free from actually speaking my truth. But then came the train of guilt, hit me like a ton of bricks. Because I did the one thing, which is broke her trust. And when I opened up to her and I told her the extent of this, that I've been gambling since 2009. I've hid it from everyone, my family, from her, my children. She literally said, pack your bags and get out of here. See, I was always trying to chase the jackpot, but what I didn't realize, the jackpot was sitting in front of me. My wife was there. I've got a 2-year-old playing. I've got another child on the way. Why? Well, I kept asking, why did I do this? Why did I do this? Why did I do this? And then she said, look, you need to pack your bags and go. But I knew that I could make this right. So I begged and pleaded with her, give me another chance, give me another opportunity. Let me make it up to you. After begging and pleading for, I would say, hours, she came round to me and she said, look, if we're going to make this work, you need to do one thing, which is get professional help. That was, like when you have that lifeline moment where you just go, I've got an opportunity here. I know I've messed up. I know we've all been in that situation. Maybe you've been in that situation where you've messed up. You've got an opportunity. You've got a lifeline and you're trying to take it. But now you've got this opportunity. You're like, what do I do with it? And that's how I felt. I was like, where do I go? What do I do? No, what should I proceed to next? So no one's hiring. I promised my wife I'm going to make it up to her. So I'm sitting there going, what do I flip and do? Like, let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever been in a situation where you feel like rabbit in the headlights, where you're looking left, right, you can't see forward, and you're thinking, am I even doing the right thing? And that's what happened. So I realized, thinking back to my past, what I'm good at, I sold a company. Remember when I said I left university, I sold a company for multiple 6 figures. So I know about business, so why not do that? And then this spark lit in front of me. I was like, cool. While I'm getting therapy, I was doing CBT. I'm working on myself and even that was hard as well because I couldn't even see my therapist in person. Everything was done on screen in front of like Zoom. And not only that, it wasn't even one-to-one. It was in a group session. So not only am I opening up to a bunch of random people that I've never met before, I'm going through recovery. I've digging deeper than I've ever done before. And I said to my wife, a bit like Dragon's Den, I've got an opportunity. Let me make this work. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to set up a business. She knew that there was no other alternative except for this. So with this new fire in my belly, I was like, right, I'm going to rab it on. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to basically do what I can. I'm going to use what I can. I went to Google. I read books, went to YouTube. And then I just felt like I was just going around at this hamster wheel, not even getting anywhere. I'm like, I know I'm doing the right things, but I'm not bloody doing the right things. And backing me, going, shit, I need to make it up to her because I told my wife I want to make things right. And I was just, before I was chasing money. Now I'm chasing time for money, and I feel like I'm going into the self-perpetual addictive behavior again. And now I'm going, where am I even going right? Where am I even going wrong? I'm just confused. However, there was this one opportunity that came off. I was like, do you know what? After all the emails, after everything, I had an opportunity. And I remember doing the presentations, putting the decks together. I know you've not been in this situation. I know people listening to us have been in this situation. I'm going to pitch my ass off. I'm going to say this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to sound like this. I'm going to get this. And I remember on the way to this meeting in Nottingham, I'm like driving up there, rehearsing everything in my head. I'm going to open up like this. I remember my slides. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And I remember driving up, got to the place, said hellos. I remember it being a bright day. I remember that 2020 was a fantastic year for just weather. I know when the weather's good and the sun's hitting you, which hopefully my yellow turban is radiating out to you. This is why I wear this turban, because it's bright, it's yellow, and it's basically, I'm a ray of sunshine. And that's how I felt in the moment. I felt like nothing can stop me. And I remember going into this meeting and I pitched my backside off. I was killing it, making them laugh, telling how I can help them, showing what I can do, how I can make them more money, how I can make them more productive. And at the end of it, I remember the guy sitting there and he was like, Harj, I love exactly what you're saying, how you're doing things, but the infamous but. See, now how we just felt in that moment, I just saw everyone's shoulders go, yeah. But we're working with someone right now and they're doing something very similar to you. Maybe we go back to them and share some of these ideas with them and see how this can work with them. And if we don't think we're getting it, we can come back to you. That sunshine went to grey cloudiness. That's how I felt in the room. Everything went dark, everything went cold. And this is my one lifeline, my opportunity. And I remember going, how am I going to go back to my wife? How am I going to go back to her and tell her I failed again? Everything has just been like a series of failed events. And I remember coming out of the meeting and my wife was calling me, how did it all go? How did it all go? But I didn't pick up because I just felt disappointed with myself in the moment. I held off going back home. I sat in a coffee shop. I was just sitting there replaying everything that I've done wrong. And before I know it, it's like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I was like, oh, shoot, I better get home. Because now I've had about, 20, 30 missed calls. I've had messages going, what's happening? I just messaged her back saying, not good. I'm driving home. I was driving home. I'm just replaying everything in my head again. Why did the meeting not go ahead? What's happened in my life? Why have I failed so many people? Why have I broken so much trust? What my gambling addiction? I'm just a freaking failure. Why do my wife need me? Why do my children need me? Why do I need me? Why does the world even need me? These are the things that were going through my head. And I'm just sitting there going, this world is better off without me. And I'm on the M1 near Leicester. And I'm just driving and it was dark. And I remember, when you're driving, you just see the lights just flashing past you. Wow, do you know what? A thought crossed my mind. It was the 18th of August, 2020. It must have been about 11:45 at night. As I'm talking to myself in my head, realizing what I've done wrong, I decided to call it quits. I took my car and smashed it into Central Reserve. Before I even did that, actually, let me talk to you about what I did. Because I think a lot of people maybe talk about this, but not really people. I don't think a lot of people talk about in depth what they've done. See, when you feel like such a failure, when I was going through my addiction, I'm going through all this stuff. But deep down in my heart, in my gut, I was alone. And I thought, shit. I thought I was going to cry. It made me emotional, but I felt abandoned. And as I felt abandoned, I took the seatbelt off. I turned the music off. And the reason I took the seatbelt off is because I knew that I didn't want to be protected. Safety didn't mean anything to me at this time. And that's when I decided to go full into the car, crash it. And I remember waking up. But was I awake or was I dead? I wasn't sure. But I remember just the smell of just confusion. And I panicked. I was trying to start the car, but was I starting the car? I was in this daze of, was I dead or was I alive? And honestly, I remember saying to myself, I don't give a shit if I'm dead or alive. Wherever I am, I'm where I am. But do you know, I actually walked out of that accident or that suicide attempt with only a few scratches. And I remember the paramedic coming on scene going, you can't. And I remember this woman, she looked at me. She had her hair tied back and she was like, a bit like Kim's hair, half blonde, half bit dark brown. I remember it's like, shit. She felt like a guardian angel at the moment. She goes, if you don't believe in a higher power, believe in it because something has saved you today. And when she said that, I remember hearing Jeevan's voice come in the back of my head. And he just sort of said, nah, I need you, daddy. And then I didn't go home that day. I remember calling Serge. Can you imagine being the wife of me and calling, going, this has happened? Could you imagine what panic she's gone through? And I didn't realize at the time, but I said, look, I don't know what's going on. I went to my friend's house, lived in Leicester. And on the way back home, I just remember just going, do you know what? I just fell asleep. I felt bruised internally and I've just got these scratches. And I'm just going, do you know what? I'm just sitting there going, I've got this opportunity. I've got this chance. And I remember having this moment of just, I realized what I've got to do. And it wasn't only until a couple of days after where, when I was chasing all these clients, all these people, the world and the universe works in mysterious ways. I remember it was the 20th of August. Check this out. So I've just tried to commit suicide. I've been in an accident. I've got a couple of scratches. I feel bruised, but yet I've gone back into work. Why? Because I promised my wife, I promised myself, I'm going to make it work. That's how dedicated. I was that dedicated. Not only did I F up crashing my car and committing suicide, but I almost effing up my whole life. So I'm even more committed now to making it work. But all these clients I was chasing started emailing me back. Need to speak to you, or I've got this. I remember about 3-4 clients emailing me, messaging me. I need this problem. I've got this situation. I've got this new opportunity. Where does this all come from? And I actually remember getting so worked up. I was like, do you know what? I need to go out of here. And I remember taking Jeevan for a drive just to clear my head. And my 2-year-old son, and Christina knows this, I openly speak about this. He said to me, Dad, 2-year-old son, I want McDonald's. My kid has never asked me for McDonald's in my life. We've gone into McDonald's drive-through. I said, well, what do you want? He's like, I want chips. No Happy Meal, nothing. He's like, no, just chips. You sure? Yeah, just chips, Dad. Look, lady, I need some chips. Cool. Paper chips, went to the thingy. He comes in and hands me a room. I look at my son who's sitting on my back. I hand him the chips. And this is him pulling out a chip like it's the best thing in the whole world. He's like salivating over it, takes this bite. And as he took this bite, I'm watching this kid just having this moment. But then he looked at me and he goes, Daddy, I'm the luckiest boy alive. And it hit, for me at that moment, it got to a place where everything that I needed was there. I knew what my purpose was. And I remember breaking down. My kid is looking at me going, what the hell's wrong with you? I've got this lady in the McDonald's drive-thru looking at me going, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm breaking down. I'm breaking down like, when you start can't catch your breath when you're crying. I was like that. Like just pouring down. Shit, what am I doing? And then I'm driving back home, not crying. My son's eating his chips, just like. But in that moment, I had a clarity of purpose, which was never to. Basically, I made a promise. It wasn't a promise of a want. It's a promise that I needed, which is to never let myself down, so I never let my children down. And from then, I realized that, look, if I really want to succeed in business, I need to get mentorship. I need to do things the right way. I need to seek guidance and advice from people that know what they're doing. And that's what happened. I went off, got mentorship, got guidance. I went to this whole sort of 4-day away sort of immersive thing where it's a school where they teach you all about entrepreneurship, all the ground stuff. And I realized a lot of the foundational stuff I hadn't got right. And on the 3rd day of this 4-day school, I've been chasing this client and I spoke to this person, the guy who's helping me. And I was like, look, I'm trying to close this client, but I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. He's like, cool, do this. So I went through it. I remember coming back about 45 minutes later and I closed. By the way, before I tell you what I closed, On the first day, I said to myself, within a year, I want to make I want to make about 100 grand a year. Because that's what I've always been taught. Hit a 6-figure business and you should be good. So I was like, as long as I hit 6 figures, I'm good. In 3 days of getting the right mentorship, speaking to the right people, and having the right people pushing my corner, I closed a 500 grand contract in 3 days. I remember going back to the hotel room, picking up the phone to my wife. I'm going to sound like all I do is cry. I'll cry what's going on? What's happened? Like, this is all great. And I literally, that's how I felt. I was like, bloody hell, this has all worked. And everything that I've been working up to was for that moment. And then I just literally, look, when you've danced on death's doorstep, you've got a new lease of life. So I basically worked in the business. I then started working in other businesses. So as Christina said, I have now 6 businesses, everything from security, recruitment, health and safety. I've got a charity. I've got one thing I'm working on at the moment. I've just realized that the great thing here is opportunities present themselves. The question is, are you going to grab them? So I literally, anytime an opportunity came, can I make money off this? But also, how can I help them with a solution? Boom. Within a year, actually less than a year. So from July 2021, and then it was February 2022, I made 1.2 mil in sales. And I closed the year off with 3.2 in sales. And this year, I'm on track to hit 5.7 in revenues. That's 5.7 million. That was a journey, but along the way, I learned so much more because I realized that not only have I got a knack for business, because I've always been a hustler, but also I realized that there are a lot more people out there that maybe have these problems. I know Christina, Kim, Nicole, you speak to people on a daily basis and they're always telling you about issues that they have with marketing. But the greatest people that I found is the people that are coachable, the ones that are actually understand that there is an issue and put away the egos, because that's one of the biggest things that I had to do. I had to put away my ego, because one of the biggest things that people can do is become vulnerable and ask for help. The amount of people that I've spoken to that let the ego get in the way just because they're too proud or have too much pride that they don't want to ask for help. And then I see their businesses burn, and then they come back and say, yeah, I should have asked for help. Look, just have that moment of clarity for yourself. So really, that's me. However, there's been a bit more of a journey on that, which is something where this is where I actually met Christina. And I realized that through my journey, I've always been a great speaker, but I was always that person where, when you get those people you speak to and they're like, just get to the freaking point. I was that speaker, I'd waffle on, and then I realized that actually, if I want to be the person that gets to the point, I need to learn how to be an effective communicator. So then I took my voice, took some speaker training, and then within 2 years, I became a 4 times award-winning speaker, now international winning speaker. So I now use my voice to help people turn their misfortunes into messages. So that's me and my story.
So the first question, is there anything you can't do?
Do you know what? No.
I've actually just got a long list. I think there is there's bits that I know that you kind of, because you've got massive humility, it's you talked about the figures, but for the context, it was through the gambling addiction, the level of debt you were in is like, I mean, you normally share that number, but you didn't this time. Are you happy to share that?
Yeah. So I didn't share it, and I should have shared it. But so from 2009 to 2020, I wasted £250,000 on that gambling addiction. That's £250,000. And coming at the end of it, I was in about 90 to £100,000 in debt. So this is crazy, right? So not only have I wasted £250,000, imagine sitting there with your wife and your partner going through all the gambling transactions over these 12 years. But also there's times where you go, oh, I haven't really thought about that because that was cash and this. So I really had to dig deep. It was an emotional process, but it was a needed process. But now you're in 100 grand, 90, 100 grand worth of debt. I'm then going back to my wife and saying, oh, by the way, I need a bit more money to get mentorship, to do this.
She's like, here we go again.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, my wife has been one of my biggest supporters, and I think it's down to communication. So yes, I was in a lot of debt, and I realized that if I need to come out of this, I could either sit there and complain and go into soft wallow, which I did, and as a result, I tried to kill myself in that process. But I realized that if you're gonna work at something, you have to take responsibility. You made the mess, clean it up at whatever cost. Don't brush it under the carpet.
In that sort of 11-year period, was there a time where you thought, I want to speak about this to someone, or did you just think out of sight, out of mind almost?
Both, actually. There was outside, out of mind, because when you talk about addiction, there are a couple of ways. So you've got substance addiction, and then you have behavioral addiction. So substance is stuff like, drugs and alcohol, where you see someone physically inebriated. Whereas something like gambling addiction is something that's very easy to pass off. So you can say, oh, stressed at work, or there's problems in the relationship, because it's really just an emotion. You're literally on an emotional coaster. You're on an emotional coaster ride of just everything. Your brain is going, am I doing this? Am I doing this? So it's just literally a roller coaster. So when I did want to speak about it, I knew I was going for a problem. And even when I was trying to get help, I thought to myself, who do I actually ask for help? So I was going to go to my parents. And then I realized shame and guilt kicks in. I was going to ask my friends. Shame and guilt kicks in. I was going to ask family members. Shame and guilt kicked in. I even thought, well, let me go speak to my community. Obviously, as being a Sikh, we have temples. So I went there and I actually asked one of the priests in our temple, saying, look, I've got this issue, I've got this problem. And it was more like, don't bring that bad energy or your problems here, because we don't want to be associated with that. So now I'm going to a place where I should be opening up and getting help from. And they've always encouraged us to come and do this. But now there's stigma involved, there's shame involved, and there's guilt involved. So that not only am I worrying about not getting help, it's actually putting me off from getting help. So yeah, you're right. So Nicole, I did want to speak about it, but ego, shame, guilt, and stigma was stopping me as well in that process.
I think that this is one of the great things is we've met each other because we understand the power of your voice, the public speaking stuff, all of that kind of thing. And it's I know, like Harj, you use the phrase all the time about turning your mess into your message. Yeah. And it is that power of public speaking. You are now going out doing stuff, raising awareness of gambling addiction across the board, but especially within the Asian community.
Yeah. So recently, about a month and a bit ago, it feels like ages now, but I hit 1,000 days of gambling sobriety. And once again, when I post something out online, as you can all tell, I'm an emotionally led person. So I speak from the heart and I speak the truth. And the reason I speak from the heart and the truth is because I realize that there are a lot of people that maybe not going through gambling addictions, that are maybe going through problems that they can resonate with. So I really opened up about the 1,000 days, but I really opened up about why gambling, like I said in here, had this double standard, double life. I talked about how much debt I was in. I talked about the impact that had on me and my family and my wife, but also what I did to come out the other end of it. I posted it on LinkedIn, and that went nuts. I think that has I think it's had over 35,000 impressions. It's had like 30, 50 odd reposts and loads of comments. I posted it on Facebook because I post a lot of stuff everywhere. But then I thought to myself, I want to take it a step further. Remember I said about stigma and guilt and shame? There's a Facebook group that's specifically for Sikhs at the turban. And I just posted on there. And my wife goes, "You sure?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." Boom. Because I don't fear rejection anymore. I'll tell you a story about that and why I don't fear rejection. But the reason I don't fear rejection is because now I'm good at myself, because I worked on myself. I've done therapy. I built the best communication with me and my wife. I've got businesses that are now not just helping me, but I'm now in a position to help other people. So I was so self-centered in my own addiction. Now I'm like, well, no, it's about these other people. So when I posted on this Facebook group, I had full certainty, because I have an abundance of not love but energy, that if anyone tried to take something away, it's like, imagine a billionaire. That's my abundance. And if someone tried to take £100, which is what people do, right? You've got these energy suckers. If someone took, say, £100, is it really going to affect that billionaire? No. That's how I treat my love and giving. It's in such abundance that if anyone takes it, it's not affecting me. So I posted on this Facebook group, and it just went wildfire. It just went nuts. And the response I got back from the community was so positive. And the amount of people that reached out saying their children are going through the same thing, their dad or mum went through the same thing, that they're going through the same thing. But more importantly, that it was refreshing and more opened about someone like me speaking about such stigma. Not only has it allowed me to put myself in the limelight, but it's allowed me to put myself in a more vulnerable position to help and serve more people. So as a result of me speaking my truth and being open, I've been invited onto different podcasts. I was interviewed by BBC Asia Network about my gambling addiction. I was recently interviewed by BBC Radio 4 about the recent white paper study that the government have done on gambling and the implications that they're trying to do. I've just been, loads of opportunities that present themselves. Like today, actually, GamCare, which is huge, and Alison from there was one of the person that helped me through my therapy, reached out to me and said, "Oh, by the way, we're doing a massive staff event at the end of this year. We'd love for you to become a guest speaker on there." I was like, boom. How much you want? I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not taking any money from you, because you helped me in a time of need. So it's me paying my kindness back to you guys. So I've got this conversation with them tomorrow to them to speak about the team. But one thing that I've learned is when you speak your honest truth, it helps people that are going through the same problems. And I think that was what's stopping me. Recently, Christine, we talked about this, is I had a lot of inner self-talk. Even though I've done a lot of work, no matter how much work that you do on your mindset, now I'm working on my heart and my heart coherence and being more of a heart-led person. There was always this little niggle in the back of me, which was, you sure?
That's what I was going to ask. How do you get rid of that? Like, you know what you need to do and you know you can do it, but then you always get that sort of, like you said, that, oh, well, you're a failure, that type of, in your head, kind of like, say if you did mess up again, it's like, well, I told you so. Like, how do you get rid of that bit?
So, that's wicked to unpack. So I'm going to break down the...
Sorry.
I know, but when you say, I told you so, someone said this is someone that said to me, they go, would you ever gamble again? I said, yes. Hold on. But you said you quit gambling. Yeah, if I say no, I put so much pressure on myself. So what I've done is I've made everything in my life such a high priority, my family, what I'm doing, my business, my health, my purpose, that gambling, because look, it's like a toxic relationship. It's part of your life. It's part of your journey. It's part of your story. You can't delete it, but what you can say is that it vibrates at such a low level that it doesn't come into existence in my current life. Now, is there a potential that I could gamble again? Yes. Would I? No. Two different things. Now, when I started talking about the mind thing, listen, I'm trying to think about what to do next. And what happens when you have time to think? It's the worst place to be, because now we start taking something so minuscule and we make it into this big amount of molehill, right? So I realized that I was asking the right question in the wrong place. Should have been asking the right question to my heart, because like I said before, no matter how much you think about something, all the mindset work that you do, all the mental well-being you do, great, You've got to work on that, and you have to work on it. But you've got to ask your heart what's right. And once I started learning how to ask my heart what it really wants to do, everything changes, because my mind will be like, you sure? My heart will go, you're fucking damn sure this is the right thing to do. So now once I listen to my heart more than my brain, it leads me in the right position, because now I'm leading with my heart, and my heart knows my purpose. Your heart is the engine of your car. Your brain is just the indicators going left and right, just signaling where you want to go next. So
Like that.
that's how I interpret. So when you want to do something like that, ask your heart. Go internal.
Harj, when your lovely wife was sat on the end of the bed and she was on your phone,
Yeah.
do you feel if that was a lifeline for you when she found out? Because obviously, like, if she didn't, do you think you would be in a different place now? Like, or do you think you would, have come, spoken about it freely with her?
Yeah. So this is another question. It's a hard one, because
Yeah, it is. It's because it's like I would
Are
say
you glad that she kind of took that?
Yeah. She was sort of that hand, like, if it was good that she found it, because obviously you found it difficult to even open up and speak about. So and it's good that you just sort of came clean and honest, because as you said, you could have gone through these loopholes of worming your way around it. But I feel that was the start of your journey of coming out of that.
So the simple answer to this is that I can't answer what would have happened, because anything could have happened. However, what I do believe is that the universe, I'm not going to go to the law of attraction, but the universe works in mysterious ways. There was a reason that I met my wife on a flight back from JFK. I didn't tell you that. So I met my wife on a flight back from JFK, come to Heathrow. There was a reason I met her. There was a reason where we just clicked straight away. There was a reason why we got married within 2 years. Actually, we knew we were going to get married before that, but we just set the date in 2 years. There was a reason why certain things happen for certain reasons. There's reasons why I'm sat in this podcast or this live with you guys talking about this, because everything happens for a reason. Whilst we're unsure about, and this will happen because there's so much uncertainty about what's happening, most of us get scared about it. So when we can go, well, there's fun in this, there's greatness in this. Imagine going on a roller coaster. You can get nervous, right? But you also feel excited about going on it. So the question is, are you going to choose to let your nerves take over, or are you going to choose to let your excitement take over? So that's what I do. I choose to let my excitement take over, because if we've been gifted this time in life, which is not finite, question to you is, what do you want to do with it? Not what your mind wants to do with it. What does your heart want to do with it? Because it opens up so many opportunities. And really, for me, this is what's happened. In the past couple of weeks, I've taken another shift in my life, and that this is only going to get bigger, better, and more impactful. For not just me, but for the people I know that's going to be around me.
And I think this is one of the things I'd love you to talk about now, Harj, is you found your voice.
Yes.
You've mastered it, perfected it. You've used it to create crazy impact, and now you've got an opportunity.
Yes, but okay. So
tell us what the opportunity is. Come on, I want to tell it for you.
You can say it, but look, I think, remember I said to you before, all of us have been gifted a purpose, right? Some of us chase the wrong things, and that's okay, because sometimes we have to fail a lot. And I'm going to come back to the rejection thing, and this is why it's all going to fall into place. So people say to me, like, why were you always not fear of being rejected? The truth is that from a young age, I was trying to hit on the girls, but I wasn't a good-looking guy, but I am now. So what I realized was, if I chucked enough shit at the wall, something would stick. So it's a numbers game. And interpret how you want, but I realized that it doesn't matter, because no is part of life. Failing is part of life. Rejection is part of life. It's like you can't have positive without negative. You can't have happiness without feeling sad. You want that, but the question is, if I feared rejection, but then I also, like we said, if I feared rejection, but that was high on my scale, but also wanted success, which is high on my scale, our body's already tuned to a negative bias. So rather than looking at success, it's going to always look at failure. So I had to squash that first, push that down. Now that's vibrating on a lower level. Everything I do now is leveling up to success. So then when I asked this question, I asked my heart, I had a divine intervention with myself through a meditative process. And through this process, I lost a lot of my faith. But from a young age, I've always been instilled in my faith. And there was a moment of clarity that came where I had the opportunity to speak to my divine power. And one of my gurus, who's 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Dev Ji, he turned to me in my meditative process and he said, remember, I'm always with you. But never forget these two things I want to basically tell you right now. One, always remember your Vaheguru Mantra. Vaheguru Mantra being all being one. Yeah. The second thing is that as Sikhs, we've come from a warrior race. So we're taught to fight. Some of us can fight with the hands. Some of us can fight with books. He said, your weaponry, your shastra, is like your choice of armory, your weaponry is your voice. And then as a result, he goes, before he set me out there, he armored me up. It was a very powerful and surreal moment. But I realized in that moment, it's not business coaching I want to help people with and the business side of it. I want to help people master what I believe is communication. Because when you look at a lot of relationships, whether it's professional, whether it's personal, whether it's business, whether it's financial, communication is a big part. And I break it into 3 areas. One, which is verbal, how you communicate while you speak. One, which is written, because there's no point being a great speaker, but then you can't articulate your points when you're writing stuff down. But then non-verbal, the power of pauses, your eye contact, can you listen, where you stand, your body tonalities, everything that we're doing sends a message. And when I ask people, they go, you're such a great speaker. You're really able to take something that's so complex and make it very simple. So I realized that why not help other people? Because look, when we progress in business or in life, especially business and our work and professional careers, what happens? We start having to give presentations. We start doing client meetings. We start doing boardroom meetings. We may have to do keynotes. God forbid we have to go on stage and speak to people in front of a crowd, whether it's in person or on Zoom. No one equips us on how to successfully deliver those winning pitches, right? They just leave you with hoping that you've got the confidence and the knack to go and succeed. What I realized is that there's only 5 things that you need to master. And it's very, very simple. But yet, once you understand this, because I've seen some speakers that have gone to speaker schools. Yes, they become great speakers, but are they impactful speakers? No, because they haven't learned how to communicate. So what I've been able to do is take what I've learned, unpack it all. It's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait for people to experience this, because I'm not going to be talking at you. I'm going to be leading with you side by side. Meaning, I'm going to handhold you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to get your purpose knuckled down. Not only that, I'm going to get you, because look, public speaking or professional speaking is feared by 75% of the global population. If I went in there and made people feel more nervous than they already are people going to go out and speak? No. So one thing I'm good at,
want the money back.
the one thing that apart from the emotional state of Harj, one thing I am good at is I love having jokes. I love smiling. I love laughing. I love comedy. When you can take something and you pack it with so much fun, you pack it with so much laughter, you pack it with so much humor, you make something that someone's so scared of lighthearted, and they make it an enjoyable process. So what I've put together is going to be phenomenal. It's not only going to help people elevate in their professional careers. It's not only going to help people in their business. It's going to help people become better parents, better partners, better communicators with them and their team. Because once you can articulate your messages, remember I said to you at the beginning of the meeting, I was that person, get to the bloody point. Now I do get to the point. So when you can able to get to the point where it's so easy for the most simplest people to understand, the game changes. Just look at Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Elon Musk, even preachers like TD Jakes, why they're so recognized, why they're so impactful, why does it sound like they can speak to an audience of 100, if not thousands of people, but yet they feel like they're speaking to people individually. It's because they've understood that it's all about how they communicate. So for me, I'm excited about this journey because communication has been a big part in not overcome my addiction, but it's helped me have better relationships with my clients. It's helped me excel in my business. It's actually allowed me to be a better parent to my children, because now, rather than them saying, "How was school?" Good. That's not really good communication, is it? So I was asked my little boy something like, "What's the one greatest thing or the most enjoyable thing that you learned at school today?" You know what he said to me? Phonics. I was like, so you had sports, you can play around your friends, but you enjoy phonics. Cool.
I'm going to try that this afternoon.
I've got a little geek on hand. But I said, okay, so if you love that, what's one part of the day that you didn't like the most? And he found it quite hard. He's like, "Oh, Dad, I actually enjoyed most of it." I was like, "That's good. Sometimes you don't have to not enjoy anything, but as long as you like what you're doing." But it's now allowed me to be for me, I'm in a great place because I love speaking, I love talking, but I also love helping, serving, and contributing. And I think you all know, as I've spoken to each one of you, you can sit with me, whether it's for 10 minutes, an hour, or a day, or even a week. I'll be there with my open ears and open heart to help you. So I speak from my heart.
I felt that when I first met you, Harj. I was like, yeah, I just felt that warm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you do have a ray of sunshine. It's not just the color of the turban. It's like you are just a ray of sunshine as a person. I think that's
and whenever
why
your name's mentioned in the office, it's
yeah.
But not in sort of like a patronising way. You're just like,
everyone loves Harj.
Yeah.
Just a good person, and yeah, you've got.
And I can't wait for Harj the movie.
I'm
'Cause
looking
your
at
story's
the whole background.
amazing.
We've got Toy Story and we got Up, so that's it. I might be like I'll be like, yeah. So
The
I've got
thing
these
is,
little
right?
funny-
They all spoke to me about that, saying that because I always used to take them down for these. So
Right.
like, it
Who
was
said
a
that?
background. They were like, why are you taking them down? Keep them up, like it's a part of you. So yeah, for the past few weeks, I've kept them up,
But this is the thing, though, isn't it? Like you said about the people have this fear of public speaking. They have a fear of being on stage. They have a fear on being on video on social media, because it's like, it's fear of judgment. It's fear of, what if someone doesn't like it? What if they think this about me instead of thinking that about me? And it's like, actually, we can all just embrace who we are and how we are on any given day. And it is like, I was talking last night to someone who's been on some of my webinars. It's Joe I was talking to. And he said, well, one of the things that he loves is the fact that, like, I rock up on the webinar and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And what it is, I do know what I'm doing. I just have no idea what's going to come out my mouth next.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm like, I've just totally embraced who I am. And people will love me and people will not.
Yeah.
And everyone else is not that bothered anyway. So I just focus on the people that will like me, and everything comes good. And I think this is, so 21st of May, you're holding an event where you're going to be taking people through sort of lots of different elements around speaking.
Yeah.
And I know for me, one of the biggest things is just that ability to go, this is me.
Yes.
Wholeheartedly, and yeah.
So look, I think you're right. Where does fear of failure, rejections, the way we sound, the way we look, am I going to mess up my lines? I unpack this because yes, you can tell someone to stand on stage, but there's more of a deep-rooted problems that go through people's lives. I know, Christina, you've done a lot of work on yourself, but the reality is we have to go to the root cause. So for me, I remember this one particular time when I must have been 12, 13 at the time. And I was like, I had to get up in front of class. Oh God, have you ever done this? You have to get up. Everyone, see this? See, Nicole's done it. Oh no. You have to get up in front of class. And I remember it was a World War II book, Friend or Foe. And I had this crazy English teacher. who looked actually a little bit like the man from Up. Big glasses. I genuinely kid you not, he looked like the man from Up, but just a cold patch here. But he said to me, right, read 2 pages, and you know, like when you got friends and they always take the mickey at you, and you go, oh God, I've got to speak in front of them. And then you got your mates that start laughing, and then you lose your line, and then am I dyslexic? Am I reading the right things? So it's these little things where then you're shaking, you're nervous about reading your lines right. And then what's your teacher thinking? Then he was like, and then he said to me, you got to stop being monotone, you got to be more expressive, you got to use words, you got to accent. I was like, I'm 12. What do you mean? I'm not being taught this. So rather than giving me constructive ways, it actually knocked my confidence. Also things like bullying, having a turban when I was young, all these little things knocked my confidence. So whilst there are a lot of things that you need to work on, what I've been able to do is go, right, cool. In this one day, I'm going to unpack. And this is not like your typical sort of event day where you got a speaker on stage and they're just speaking at you. It's speak with impact, and it's a one-day immersive. It's a very experiential day, which means I want people to come up on stage because I want to help them get rid of some of the anxiety, get rid of some of these fears. Also, show them the power of who they are with their story. You know, what's their purpose? You know, how can they use an attention grabber? If you've got think about it, if you've got 6 seconds with the king, right? Now we've got the coronation coming up. If you've got 6 seconds with the king, how would you stop that person in their tracks? I would turn around and say something like, I know you're busy, but I'm a gambling addict that lost £250,000 to that addiction. When you caught someone in there, they're going to do things. I've tested this. They're going to go, what do you mean? Which means now they're not going to be opposed to not talking to you because they're going to feel bad about it, or they're going to be intrigued. Now I've got a few minutes with them, and that few minutes can build on. So it's how do you, when you present with opportunities, give yourself more time. Not only that, I'm going to be teaching people how to educate their clients, educate the people they want to work with. And I'm also going to I'm going to take their niches. I'm going to show them how to put a roadmap together. So whenever they're talking to people, it gives them clarity, and clarity creates power and progression. Because a lot of people, when they've got products or they've got services or they're in meetings, they don't have clarity about what they want to say, and then they mess up. So I show them how to do that very simply. Then I also show them how to attract people, but not any people, the right people into their lives. Like Christina said, there are people that you should be going, yeah, you're not vibing, you're not my energy levels, you should be staying away from me, you're energy vampires. So realize that there are people in life that you need to push away, that are not aligned with you, but also use your story, how you use social media, how to get in front of a camera and record. Like, what's the difference between looking at the middle of a screen and looking at a camera and getting eye contact? 2-minute shifts, very, very powerful. But then I also tell people, look, what I've just shared with you, you literally have a key. And this key opens up opportunities in business, on stage, whatever you want to do. My question to them is once you've been given this key, what are you going to do with it? And that's really for them to ask themselves, now I've been shown what I need to do, really what do I want to do with it? So really, I'm going to be unpacking it in this one-day event. It's going to be fully immersive. There's going to be lots of fun. There's going to be lots of engagement. There's going to be lots of interaction, because I want people to have fun with this. I don't want it to be a situation where people get fearful of speaking in front of a camera. So yeah, I can't.
So if we want to do this, how do we get on it?
So reach out to either one of you guys, because I know Christina has got it, or you can DM me. It's going to be held on the 21st of May, which is a Sunday. It starts at 9, finishes about 5, 6. It's at the Marriott in Langley. But obviously, if you DM me saying interested, I'll give you more details and show you how you can reserve your place, because we're not going to have hundreds of people here. We want to keep this close-knit. We want to keep this small. Why? Because we want to give value back to the people that attend.
Amazing.
I'm going to wrap it up there. I was so trying to keep this under an hour, and we're like 59 minutes and 27 seconds in. So, Harj, mwah, you know I love you. Thank you, brother. Thank you for your time.
I think we should have Harj back at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
So
I feel like there's more to delve into. We've just scratched the surface.
there's tons. Honestly, there's so much that we talk about. We just like rabbit on for ages when we're together. It's crazy.
Well,
But,
we rabbit on. It's all about the energy because we can keep going and going and going and going. I feel like it's the Duracell batteries.
that's
So-
I
it.
was just about to say, like the battery, yeah.
So,
Never on the battery.
it's hard. We have a tradition.
Yes.
We have to wave so I can take a screenshot.
We got to wait.
There you go. I've done that. And for everyone that has tuned in, whether you've joined us live, whether you're watching on the replay, thank you so much. We will be back next Thursday at 12 noon, as always, for the Green Umbrella Live Lunch on the Green Umbrella Facebook page, the YouTube channel, and my personal LinkedIn account as well. So thank you so much, and we will see you then. Bye for now.
Love you guys.
See ya.